In this video, we will discuss the most important changes in material ledger actual costing in SAP S/4HANA. We divide these changes in three sections. Section 1, Data model changes, a technical perspective. Section 2, Posting logic changes. Section 3, Changes in application and reports, a user perspective. With S/4HANA, the data model for material ledger has changed significantly. The main purpose for the changed data model was to reduce the complexity and improve the runtime in the material ledger costing cockpit. Further goals were the reduction of non-distributed variances and the elimination of log conflicts between material movements and material ledger. Let's take a look at the material ledger data model in SAP ERP. The valuation of materials was distributed between three main modules. Material management carried material master data, transactional material data, and material valuation data. Material valuation data were replicated in the CO submodule actual costing and enriched with additional data that is required for accounting and reporting of stock values and actual costs of products. With material ledger closing, revaluated stock values and costs were updated in financial accounting. The quantity and value flows were stored twice and tripled in various data tables, causing low material ledger performance and locking effects. With SAP S/4HANA, the data redundancy has been removed. For example, BEW and BEWH tables, which used to store material actual and material historic valuation data and material management. Other tables have been cleaned up. These are, for example, ML tables in which periodic and closing documents were stored. In S/4HANA, these tables are only left with closing document data, since all periodic data has been moved to new tables. The new main tables are MLDoc, MLDoc CCS in material ledger actual costing, and ACDOCA in financial accounting. MLDoc, MLDoc CCS are updated through periodic transactions such as goods movements, activity confirmations, and through material ledger settlement of actual values. MLDoc stores all relevant information to material ledger on posted items, except for the cost component split, which is stored in the MLDoc CCS table and the CKMLPR tables. ACDOCA table. The Universal Journal stores material ledger total records, which have been previously stored in tables CKMLPP and CKMLCR, as well as in MM tables BEW and BEWH. The most important change in the posting logic of material ledger is the merging of single-level and multi-level variances. As we can see on the screen, the PRV and KDV transactions, single-level differences, are consequently removed from the posting logic in S/4HANA and replaced accordingly by the transaction keys PRY and KDM. With a roll-up of variances, the input material is credited to the PRY KDM account and the output material is debited also to a PRY KDM account. If you are now asking yourself whether it's still possible for a material to differentiate between variances from low levels and from its own level, the answer is yes. We will show this later in the material price analysis section. Furthermore, a new transaction key, PRL, has been introduced for posting activity price differences to cost centers. These changes apply to roll-ups when there are variances from low-level to high-level material revaluation of ending inventory, revaluation of consumption, and revaluation of work in progress. The logic of primary variance postings out of purchase orders, goods receipts, stock transfers, order settlements remains the same. Regarding material ledger processes and applications, the most important changes have been made to the material price analysis, transaction CKM3, and the actual costing cockpit, transactions CKM LCP and CKM LCP AVR. The processes have been simplified to gain performance and transparency. Let's take a closer look at both applications. Here's an example for the material 71 racing bike for the period of April 2020 after material ledger closing. The default view is the price determination structure, which splits the values by categories in beginning inventory, receipts, consumption, and ending inventory, just as it was before. A new addition to S/4HANA is the splitting of costs by cost components. In the view drill down list, you will not find a separate cost component view, as it has been integrated into the price determination structure. The view price history is still available. Let us compare the new to the old material price analysis layout. The old material price analysis layout can be found under the transaction CKM3 old. Note that this transaction does not display any values for the periods after the migration to S/4HANA and only offers a view of the historical values before the migration. Therefore, values for the current period in CKM3 and CKM3 old will not match. The price determination structure does not contain any cost components, and in order to see them, the view needs to be changed to cost components. The view plan actual comparison you see in the CKM3 old has been removed in the new material price analysis. Back to the new CKM3. The cost component split you see when you enter the app does only contain cost components marked as relevant for inventory valuation. By selecting Display all cost components, also non-inventory relevant cost components will be displayed. In our case, these are admin overhead and sales overhead costs. As they have been included in the material cost estimate just for controlling and forecasting purposes, we do not expect any actual value appear in these columns. So it is perfectly fine that they are not shown by default. An important change has been made in determining price and exchange rate differences. In the new material price analysis, there is no breakdown into single-level and multi-level differences. Both categories were merged into one. However, it is still possible to filter differences by level and lower level as before. Again, a comparison to the old version of material price analysis. In the price determination structure view, you could not only see the total price differences, but also they split into single-level and multi-level differences as separate columns. This was quite useful for the analysis of the source of the differences and the value flow along material components. The default layout can be further extended by adding, for example, intercompany profits, relevant if you use cross-company costing and stock transfers, or the alternative inventory values if you use an alternative material valuation functionality. If you expand the price determination structure, you will see more details compared to the old report. After the material ledger closing, the differences wrote up from lower level materials are differentiated by material number and activity type, so you can easier identify the source of the biggest differences straight in this report. Also, the closing documents show now more transparency. For each material, you can clearly see where the differences have been distributed to. In our example, the differences of material 31 of 534 euro go to its ending inventory and 133 euro to the next level material 71. In the accounting document, you can see that both single level and multi-level differences are posted with the same transaction key, PRY. In the old material ledger application, two keys have been used, PRY for single level differences and PRV for multi-level differences. In S/4HANA 1909, you can use two apps to run the material ledger closing: Edit Actual Costing Run and Edit Alternative Valuation Run. Both apps now support Actual Costing Run for the leading valuation as well as Alternative Valuation Costing Runs. You can switch between them in the field Application. There are no changes to the general data of the actual costing run. However, there are changes in the processing flow. The classical CKMLCP steps, single level price determination, multi-level price determination, revaluation of consumption, and WIP revaluation have been replaced by the new step settlement, which essentially does all the cost allocations and actual price calculations. In addition, the step preparation is required to prepare the data. For example, reading of apportionment structures, actual activity prices, cost sequence determination. The parameters of the new step settlement are like those of the multi-level price determination steps. There is a new filter for activities by plant, cost center, and activity type, as activities are treated now technically the same as materials. The section Costing Results was replaced by the button Results, which is linked to the new report Display Materials. It gives you more filtering options than the old section. So now you can perform a more targeted analysis, for example by closing steps or by material status. The output list contains the assigned material number, sales order item for special stock materials, activity type, cost center, and the closing status for every step. From this report, you can navigate to the material price analysis and check the closing documents posted in the step Post-Closing. The closing documents are made more transparent. For each material, it is now clearly visible where its differences have been distributed. In our example for material number 71, €6,900 is charged to its ending inventory and €6,900 to the stock of the next level material for the sales order number 5, item 10. In the accounting document, you can notice that the same transaction key, PRY, is now used for both differences for lower level as well as for differences from this level. Single and multi-level differences are no longer differentiated. When you create a new casting run, you will be given several options. Apart from the option Actual Casting Run, there are two options for creating an alternative variation run, short AVR. Create a classic AVR, which is the same like before, or create an AVR with run reference, which means the settings are taken from the run reference and can't be changed. Only the plans must be chosen. It can also be created for a single period run, for a year-to-date run, or for a rolling run. We consider new analytical reports and transactional apps with embedded analytics to be an important innovation in S/4HANA Material Ledger. Let's look at some of them. The app Manage Material Evaluations shows a comprehensive overview of valuation data for your materials for all currency types activated in Material Ledger. We have two currency types: company code currency, legal valuation, and group currency, group valuation. For each, you see the total value, the price, and the quantity. By selecting Sales Document as an additional dimension, you can see which value is related to special sales order stocks and which to common stocks. By click on a stock item, you will see further valuation details, such as standard and periodic unit prices by periods, standard cost estimates when available, costing parameters, and other prices from Material Master. The Material Price Analysis, also known as CKM3 report, can be directly called up from this app. Watch also our other video dedicated to Material Price Analysis to find out what has changed in S/4HANA. A further useful feature of this app is the ability to perform mass actions, such as changing inventory prices or releasing planned prices. In addition to the current valuation prices, all prices that are maintained in Material Master can be displayed in this report. For example, you can compare valuation prices with commercial prices or planned prices. You can upload new inventory prices for several materials or download all information for your local files. You can group and filter line items by any valuation-related dimension. These options give you a maximum flexibility for inventory analysis. The second app, Material Inventory Values Balance Summary, helps to analyze quantities and values of inventories for a certain key date. In our case, the 11th of May. This report is multidimensional, so you can slice and dice values and quantity in a similar way as in COPA reports. You can analyze your inventories according to various perspectives by grouping the dimensions in rows and columns. For any dimension, you can show their keys and names. You can filter and sort by them. And you can make any of the attributes visible in this report, like in our example, segment and location attributes for profit centers. The values can be displayed in multiple currencies, given that these currencies have been activated for Material Ledger. By click on an item, you can jump to another app in Material Management or Material Ledger and perform an operation, for example goods receipts, for the selected material. The third app, Material Inventory Values, line items, will show you journal entries that affect the values of material inventories during a time period. You can sort them, for example, by material number, business transaction type, and posting date, and see the quantity and value flows for multiple materials. Also, you can drag and drop here additional dimensions, rearrange them in columns or in rows until you achieve the perfect cut. This app can also be used to jump to another app and see the document flow related to certain goods issue. Here you can see the sales order and delivery documents related to the selected goods issue. From here, you can either go to the original document or to journal entry in financial accounting. If you want to learn more about embedded analytics, watch our video Embedded Analytics in S/4HANA.